It's time to reclaim your goddess path of the divine feminine. Brought to you by Quantum Wave Wristband Technologies from Chris Kehler Holistic. The female wristband hormone balancer infuses Mother Gaia's rhythmic frequency to your body's natural harmony. The Quantum Wave Female Hormone Balancer Wristband discreetly and gracefully keeps your hormones in check, reducing disruptive and problematic monthly symptoms that can interfere in your divine path. Using carefully selected radionic frequencies, the Female Hormone Balancer Wristband's healing vibrations are delicately aligning the body's hormones to nature's balance. Simply put on the wristband, and you are set to transform monthly challenges to blissful contentment. Go to Chris Kehler Holistic to find these integrated frequencies in all our selection of quantum wave wristbands. It's time to restore your body's feminine life divinity and take back your nurturing essence. Find healing and real caring at Chris Kehler Holistic. Visit chriskehler.net.
I would like to introduce to you tonight to his show, Mr. Chris Kehler.
I am Chris Kehler. Here we are again, once again. Weather, oh my goodness. Winnipeg, we went from minus 30 last week. We're at +1 today, Bob.
No way.
+1. All of a sudden, kaboom.
Global warming. yeah. You know that global warming that's really not happening, but they're going to tell you it is. So, I don't know.
It's always a good day when Chris can leave the house without wearing a toque.
Look, I went out in a t-shirt today. I'm in a t-shirt outside today. I mean, it was 78 degrees this afternoon.
78.
78. I mean, it is January and it's 78 degrees.
Well, you got to love where you live.
That's why I came down here in the first place. I mean, come on. Right now, my daughter up in New York State, and that is freezing her little butt off because it's like 21. So, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it's like, whoa.
Well, Winnipeg, so we're in Celsius, of course. So 0 Celsius is, what's your freezing point? 32. So our freezing point is 0. So our minus 30 is a lot colder than what you guys think.
So it's 2 degrees.
On Christmas Eve day, we had 80-kilometer winds. So the wind chill is minus 50 million. It's like unbelievably cold. But we live in Winnipeg. We dress for it. It's all good. We light the fire. We open the whiskey, and we stay warm. That's really all there is to it. That's all you can do.
Get the fire water out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just warm things up a little bit. Some updates. I am seeing a lot of people going through some ascension problems, a lot of ascension flu symptoms, a lot of aches and pains, a lot of would be considered like stomach flu and that type of thing. So if you're going through that, welcome to the club. Stuff is happening. Changing stuff is moving. One reason why I know this is because I'm being told that I need to start raising people into a 12-strand DNA configuration. And this is on its own a mind-blowing scenario that we are evolving. We are starting to break free of all of this 3D matrix. If you're somebody who's fortunate enough to have a set of my energy rings, the sun ring is a ring that's needed in order to do this. And simply, all you do is hold that ring between the palms of your hands and say 12-strand DNA true. And it will adjust and you will feel some shifting happening within your body. Now, of course, very important. Once that's done, you need to say 12-strand DNA activate. Go ahead and do it. If you got some rings, if you want some rings, I have them on my website and they're not very expensive at all. And they do wondrous, wondrous things. What I'm finding with the 12-strand DNA is that it enables us to get in a lot deeper with less interference to find the actual health problems. So it's a very bonus thing, the DNA that way. Also, what I'm finding is we all have covenants. Now, the word covenant in the world of the universe is a very charged word. There's a lot of energy to it. And the word covenant means agreement. The Ark of the Covenant is your agreement to be connected to Source. So ultimately, what we do is look for all of your covenants. And this could be a covenant with Satan, a covenant with the first dimension, a covenant with your karmic debt. There's all these different forms of covenants. So once you break all those covenants, then you're free to go. You can basically start the healing process. Nothing is holding you back, sort of thing. So all these new types of things are coming forward and showing themselves, and we're able to just do much better with people. And again, my quest is to be able to get to people with diabetes, with ALS, finding things like electromagnetic pulses and different things that are happening to people. So we're digging, we're looking, and I think we're very, very close to being able to crack all of these very extreme and crazy sounding health problems. We have an exciting show lined up on a Quantum View tonight, and we're going to be talking about something called the Divine Feminine. Holly Cook is here. Holly, how are you, my dear?
I'm excellent. Thank you, Chris.
And Laurie McDonald. Laurie, how are you doing? Welcome to A Quantum View.
I am filled with joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Laurie McDonald is a clinical hypnotherapist and extraterrestrial abduction researcher. She is one of 27 regression therapists listed on the MUFON mental health referral list for abduction regression and is consultation. Laurie has facilitated a number of experienced events and a lifelong experiencer herself. She is in the completion stage of her first book entitled The Alien Interference. Her website is trueyouhypnotherapy.com. Now, interestingly enough, the way synchronicity works within my office and the universe is on Monday, I was told to start working on clearing people's divine feminine. So it's been rather interesting, the clearings that are coming up. The divine feminine has its own soul. So I've been doing clearings and connections with that, removing any dark energies, any connections with the dark side, holding it down. So we've been getting some interesting results. So it's really great synchronicity that here we are today going to be discussing what the divine feminine is. Now, I'm going to tell you briefly how I work with the divine feminine. With the sacred geometry tools that I work with, it's basically pyramids, okay? For the longest time, I worked with a pyramid. People may see it on my website in certain videos called the Silver Light Pyramid. It's this huge monstrosity of 5-tier pyramid full of crystals and magnets and different geometry within it. Since we have the energy of the earth has gone from a masculine to a feminine energy, or the divine feminine, I've been working with a tool called the Vesica Pisces. Now, the Vesica Pisces, if you Google it, you will see feminine images within the new energies that are here. So I'm working with divine feminine sacred geometry to assist clearings and to raise vibration, but within this time slot. You and Laurie are putting together a retreat in Kona, Hawaii coming up from February 28th to March 5th.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, what's coming up.
Well, Laurie and I, with another woman, did our first retreat last July, and it went over so well that we've decided to do another one, this time in Kona, and this time it's just Laurie and I, and we are going to hold space for women for these few days from the 28th through the 5th, and we're going to do extensive workshops. We're going to do all the fun stuff, like get into the goddess work and learn about the different goddesses, but we get really deep and we hold a really sacred space so women can really dive into their deepest, darkest shadows and release them and step into the light of who they really are. So it gets pretty, our last retreat got pretty deep. We had every single woman make major breakthroughs and really step into their gifts. And Laurie and I were just so blown away and humbled to be holding this space. So we are really, really powered up and excited for this one.
It sounds interesting. It sounds like something that is necessary. Now, how did you get into the whole concept of the work that you're doing right now?
Well, the retreat work came naturally. I've always offered empowerment workshops. So what we're looking for there is for a woman or a man to really become aware of themselves and to begin to follow the path of self-acceptance. In order for a woman to really connect, or a man as well, to connect to that divine feminine energy, there has to be a process, a clearing, but on multiple levels. The woman needs to be empowered to continue the work without the aid. It really only seemed a natural flow into doing women's spiritual retreats since I've been offering empowerment workshops. I noticed that when anybody has the reality challenge, for any reason whatsoever, self-awareness really begins to peak within their personal psyche. Now, a path of self-acceptance, development, mastery, self-actualization has begun. And in fact, we're doing a multidimensional clearing of mind, body, and soul. This really empowers a person to move forward in the world, allowing them to live, whatever life it is. And, we're going to hit obstacles. We're going to have entities come up. We're going to have people's buttons pushed. And sometimes the work isn't always fun, but it's certainly necessary now.
The whole concept of divine feminine, let's call it an awakening, let's call it an awareness of what was very much at the bottom of importance within humanity, looking at a lot of belief systems where the female was the lesser of the two, and now we are looking at an empowerment.
Well, absolutely. My personal strength through belief comes from the ancient Gnostic teaching of the divine feminine, where there was true equality in each person's experiences were taking them to ultimately a path of ascension so that they could connect to the whole, the oneness, the omnipresent that everybody seeks. So the Gnostics taught that there wasn't really good or bad or evil or right or wrong. There was simply an experience in our opportunity to practice the art of equanimity, to remain calm among chaos, allowing the mind to be clear so our decision making is intact. This allows the creativity to flow. And when we're talking divine feminine, creative energy goes hand in hand with that. As the woman, or as it was then, WOMBMAN, woman, carrier of man. Patriarch is descending. The matriarch is hitting the ascension path, and this is only natural in cycles. My hope, though, is that all men and women can balance both the archetype masculine and feminine energies, stepping into a personal peace with this empowerment so that united we can take that next step in our evolution or in our ascension path where we begin to think right, act right, and do right, where we've done our work and we've released the baggage and we've stepped into our true, authentic selves. The ability to be at ease in the mind and body is a human right. And this is how we are meant to live our life. It's up to us. Each and every struggle and obstacle presents opportunity for personal growth, what we'll accept, what we'll feel challenged with, and then what action we'll take. I think it's imperative that in order to connect to these energies, we have to vibrate at a specific frequency. There needs to be a resonance so that you can feel it both in the mind, body, and soul. We are evolving, and we can feel that too.
Holly, let me ask you, when somebody goes on one of these retreats, what are some of the biggest awakenings that somebody would have at one of these retreats?
It was interesting. Our first retreat, it seemed like there was a lot of deep, deep trauma that came up for healing. And I think the biggest awakening that some of these women had was realizing the trauma from the past that they had experienced. And it wasn't like we were really regressing them into the past. We were holding a safe enough place for the trauma in the energy that we were holding was able to come up and fully be released. And whether the person was seasoned on this path or brand new, they all seem to be able to step in and allow this trauma to come up. And the trauma that comes up for clearing, as we know, is also healing us on a whole. So it's healing the past, present, and the future. And I think the biggest awakening is realizing what we've been through on our path and how far we've come to fully step into who we really are. And also to be able to feel safe enough to tap into the gifts that we hold. And Laurie did these amazing guided meditations, and it was just fabulous to see the women go so deep. And then I was able, one of the things that I remember the most out of our last retreat was Laurie had done a chakra clearing meditation, which sounds very basic, but it was very effective. And then I followed in the afternoon with a group soul retrieval on the whole divine feminine. And it just, the trauma that came up and that was able to be cleared solely had to do with each woman recognizing what they had come through to where they are now.
You have to look back in time and look back into lifetimes as to the traumas, and a lot of sacrificial type traumas probably involved, like sexual sacrifice, emotional sacrifice, mental sacrifice, being used in certain ways.
I think the sacral chakra clearing is what you were, when we were doing that chakra clearing, and then your soul retrieval was so incredibly important, because this is where the pleasure and pain from any sexual activity, any forced activity, or any activity that happens just too soon. It's pushing this chakra open too soon, and it creates this array of imbalance, and it really stifles the woman to be fully present in their sexual life and to be to enjoy it on the level in which that they were meant. And, you know, and above all that, and I think Holly will agree with this as well, it was them finding their voice to speak their truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But something I wanted to add is what a lot, I would say about half of the women that came to our retreat were fairly new on their paths. And is what a lot of men and women don't realize is that they're carrying this ancestral pattern and this past life pattern. And so as it replicates in the DNA, it's not always your stuff that you're carrying. And so I feel like when you're in a sacred vessel and in a sacred space to be still enough to let these old ancestral patterns or patterns from, you know, all of our DNA is connected on some level, and allow that to come up, it is such a beautiful clearing going into the future.
Probably 75% of all my clients are women. What are the expectations of people who go into these retreats?
I hope their expectations are for complete transformation and empowerment, to be able to learn skills and tools and find the strength that they need to be able to do this every single day. And we can really teach them these things, give them back their power. And see, this is what happens. They're robbed of their power on multiple levels. And certainly trauma is stored in the body physically, as well as in the mind, certainly in the heart. And we have our ancestral blood that holds. So we become enlightened to certain things. We understand what and who we are. We teach the women the definition of woman. We teach them the definition of human, that originally it was Hueman, hue. It means light or intensity or saturation of light. And man is to be embodied or to become physical, and that a human is simply a light embodiment. And when you know what you are, your path becomes so much more clear. Your limitations can leave you, and you really begin to see the true power, the magnificent power we have to manifest and create our own reality. We give them back their power. That's what they can expect.
Dorian Light, I consider a good friend, another practitioner. I've interviewed her on my show. I contact her once in a while, and I ask what are the kind of the latest clearings that she's experiencing. What are the things that are coming up? One of them that it was stuck out quite a bit, and it was removing the false masculine grids. Removing the false masculine grids.
Sure, absolutely. By way of deception. Has been our history or his story. And so, yeah, there are these energies, and energy is continuous. So obviously it can transcend space and time. And we begin to learn our multidimensionality when we start to talk about grid energy. Now we're really moving into full aspects of expanded consciousness when we start to understand the grid energy or the masculine and feminine lines. We can see how at certain points through our history, they have been manipulated. And see, manipulated, it's M-A-N.
We've got a question from the chat. Does everyone on the panel feel there is an over-emasculating of females today? This is from Janice.
You know what? That's a very smart question, Janice. So I do see that. I see this in marketing and through other means of media, social media. Yes, the woman is supposed to, pull in her, testosterone and become more like a man. See, no, that's not equality. That's not balance. This is, again, deception. This is being taken away from what you are. What we're looking for is the true unfolding of the divine feminine. So yeah, society right now, and it's just not the way Janice is asking, it's both ways. Men are being demasculated as well. You'll see that the men in TV shows and so forth are being portrayed as kind of dumb. And if I were a man, I would be offended.
Along with the divine feminine being brought forward, there's a lot of kids nowadays that are coming forward and saying, I feel like I'm a man in a woman's body. I feel like I'm a woman in a man's body. This is hitting very close to home within my family. Also, we're seeing this, and I got to realize it firsthand that, you know what, this isn't just kids being flippant and wanting to get some attention. This is a real issue that's coming forward.
Particular subject was discussed a little bit recently. Dr. Wallach suggested that these young people are suffering from a mineral deficiency, that this impacts their hormones and creates this fluctuation, sending their emotions all over the place. So really they have a very difficult time telling what they're feeling. The one thing they know for sure is that they are confused. And so sometimes, we have to treat everything, the mind and the body and the soul. So make sure that these kids are sort of receiving the nutrients and the nourishment and nurturing so that they can sort of find out exactly where it might lie. For some kids, absolutely, there could be some type of feminine energy, but that's not going to take a stronghold in the personality. That's not what a divine feminine energy would do. In fact, that would be against that. Taking the stronghold of a male personality is not the goal. So So sometimes these younger people are also subjected to this transsexual or sexuality where these kids are, it's very difficult to tell what gender they are. They want them to be both masculine and feminine at the same time. So you have to look twice to see some of these younger teens to see what they are. And that's kind of, again, a manipulation of marketing and today's society.
Whole energy realm of things plays such a big role as to how we come forward, how we view ourselves, how we view society. The changing of the energy, that's what's happening, is the divine feminine is coming forward now, allowing people to voice their opinions and actually speak their mind and talk about how they're feeling. Because you look maybe 10 years ago, young adults were feeling this way. They had nowhere to go. They had nobody to talk to, nobody to listen to, because everybody would think they're off their rocker, and then they ended up committing suicide. Nowadays, these changing energies, nurturing type of energy coming forward so that it can actually be talked about and accepted.
Right. And again, it's both, energy and the physical body as well as the soul or consciousness. So we always have to look at the large picture and try to approach it from all of the angles. It's a tough time right now for some people. This is a transitional time. We are moving from one form of energy to another. And through this time, it can be a little messy. It's like you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, but we're just moving through this energy. It's just like when we were in the thick of it in the medieval dark times. We were literally as far away from the sun as possible, speaking in space as our planet orbits. Now we are on the ascension path, moving closer in and up towards basically the light. So it's natural for us to become a little bit more enlightened, and not a coincidence at all that at this time, it is the time for the divine feminine energy to rise. The divine feminine energy is extraordinarily powerful, and the power lies in balance. And that balance accepts everything, all energy.
The left side of her body is the female, feminine side. The right side is the masculine side. So a balance between the two is crucial, but also to let the feminine know that it's okay to speak up a little bit. It's okay to be here. You're not going to get stepped on. I think that's comfort level with acknowledging that is what's necessary to help people to accept the energies, to go forward with them, to use them how they need to, and realize the true power behind them.
That's a really beautiful thing, for people to be able to, men and women, be able to find their voice and speak their truth, because it's only through that truth do they become aware and accept themselves and get on that path of development and self-mastery into self-actualization, where your energy manifests quite quickly at this point. So you've done your work and you've got to move through it. And this is the time, we can look at this time as a whole planetary healing time, really one person at a time, and then obviously collectively. But it is a time to heal. It's a time to grow. And with all growth, we experience growing pains. And so I don't think people should be too worried about that, because it won't last. We'll move through this into that higher way of being.
Holly, are you seeing a lot of guys having some divine feminine awakenings?
Absolutely. And it is beautiful. And that does not mean that they're acting more feminine or jumping out of their masculine roles. To me, when a male steps into his or hones in on his feminine energy, it is allowing the male to speak their truth, and it's allowing the male to be vulnerable. And I have seen it in so many different men, and especially a lot of my clients who are just allowing themselves to tap in to what they're really feeling in their heart, and allowing them to look at what they've been through that maybe wasn't a bed of roses, or those thorns really came through, and now their vulnerability is allowing them to heal the past. And I know for myself, it breaks down all the barriers of communication. It allows the heart to communicate with each other, like in a session, it's heart to heart. And it's also really, as a man steps into their feminine energy, it allows permission for the woman to also be feminine. So it just brings this really beautiful balance. And I think it's also bringing a larger consciousness to the male population. Like they're kind of, I've talked to so many men who are telling me they no longer watch violence. They no longer partake in aggressive sports. They're still very masculine, but they're just not in that, they're kind of stepping away from that primitive primal role and stepping more into a controlled mastery of balance.
You definitely hit it on the head. It's called a paradigm shift. It's the old is no longer there. Things are changing. Guys are starting to cry. Okay, showing emotion. I watched a video, this is a few months back, and I had to show my wife this. I play in a band. I'm into music, and I love really good music. There was this thing on YouTube. It was 1,000 musicians got together, and they played one song all at the same time. It was the Foo Fighters' Learn to Fly. A lot of people may have seen it. And I was like, wow, this is moving. So I showed it to my wife, and I started to cry. It was so moving for me. And she looks at me and says, oh, you're starting. And I says, don't go there. Don't poke that bear, because let me have my moment. Okay. So women out there, if you notice that your man is starting to open up a little bit, just let him open. Let him be. Because if you want this flower to open, just let it open. Okay.
And you know, that's a good point too. To me, when I see a man cry, it is a symbol of strength. When somebody just stuffs their emotions down, they're not being authentic. So when a man is able to express his emotions, to me, it's like, wow, this man is really being a man now.
And I certainly was being a man now, wasn't I? Yes, indeed.
Yes, you were.
The direction that things are going with the problems that men are bringing forward. Whereas years ago, nobody would want to talk about the things that happen in their lives. I mean, everybody gets some kind of abuse one way, shape, or form. Nobody would talk about it. And I'm seeing men coming forward and saying, you know what, something's went on and I need to talk about it because I know it's affecting my marriage, it's affecting me, it's affecting my work. And stuff would start to come out. I don't judge. I don't snicker. I don't talk about you behind your back, because this is a very personal thing that's going on. Everybody's got their stuff, and you're coming to me to help you with it.
Well, they don't have to feel shame. There is no need to be ashamed of something that might have happened to you where you were the victim. And although that's contrary to the old masculine way to be a victim, that made them not be able to express it because they didn't want other people to see them demasculated or in victim energy. But now they can see that they don't need to feel shame. Things are what they are. And obviously, if something happened in your early childhood, a child has no power over an adult. And so when men realize this, and women too, that they don't need to feel shame for another's actions, but to take pride in your ability to speak your truth. And with that, again, starts the healing process. But you can't heal until you're aware that you're hurt. And it's through that sharing with people who want to help that makes all the difference in the world.
So, Laurie, you do regression therapy for abductees. Can we touch on that for a minute? Does that in any way work into the topic tonight?
Well, absolutely. You know, for me, everything is a catalyst to a consciousness expansion or to an expanded reality. And a lot of people experienced the abduction phenomena. They became victims. Their energies were manipulated. And this left them not able to realize their full potential. For others, they experienced the same thing, and this left them feeling special, chosen. And they too were unable to realize their full potential because they thought they already had. So we have to really begin the healing process of it, especially, I use the word abduction because that's taken against your will, and that is with a negative experience. I work with people who are contactees as well, who have very blissful, beautiful experiences. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter, you see, if your experience was negative or positive. Both experiences push that paradigm of belief. They push your reality. They expand the consciousness, and they really make you aware of yourself. So an extraterrestrial experience is equally a human experience. So we have to draw the energies from it that way and begin to learn. They're here to wake us up, not to overtake us.
Interesting. A lot of the work I do also revolves around some type of ET interference of sorts, and a lot of it is things that people don't want to talk about, and people are now bringing it forward. So the whole awakening process, the divine feminine concept of things, is certainly here. But I think all in all, the grand movement, all of the waves of energy, the gamma waves coming in, all of the shifting, all of the paradigm collapses, allowing people to exhale and say, I need to talk about this.
Yes, I also am the facilitator of the Sacramento Alien Abduction and Contactee Support Group, where we have monthly meetings, 25 to 30 people at a time is really all I can facilitate. But each of them has an experience of face-to-face or eye-to-eye contact, and their energies are affected by this. And so there is a lot happening on the planet right now, a huge awakening, and whether it's through one's own personal ascension, tapping into their own divine feminine energy, there's a protocol that all of these people must share, and that is learning to balance their own thoughts, to control their own mind. And I'm a huge advocate of meditation, and so I suggest to anyone who's on their path to simply practice meditation. Don't expect to be, adept. Nobody does. You just practice for the rest of your life, and this is actually what will increase your personal gamma rays within your own brain.
Alien abduction. How would somebody know if they've been abducted?
Generally, a person has an awareness that something happened. Some people have full memory. Anybody who's coming to me for that reason suspects it already. And so there are indicators. Sometimes there are marks on the body. We see after a contact with an extraterrestrial, a person has an increased ability of psychism for up to about 2 weeks, where they exhibit high levels of telepathy, some clairaudience, and other psychic skills. We see increased cravings for vitamin C, which I think is very interesting, that this is a commonality shared among experiencers. And it makes me think that since vitamin C is important to our immune system, that through the abduction or interaction, our immune system is compromised somehow. Just speculation. It's just where I'm at my research for that part of it. But there's certainly an opportunity right now for people to enhance their own skills, use whatever experience you had and build upon it. So if you want to learn to be more telepathic, once again, we move right back to meditation.
Holly, if somebody wanted to do a meditation on their own to help wake up, pull out, shake up that divine feminine a little bit, what would you suggest?
For a meditation, I like to use light. So for what I usually do for my meditations is I usually pull in either diamond light or pink light with gold flecks, which is the healing and the Christ consciousness energy. And is what I do is I pull that light down through my crown and I pull it down through each chakra, anchoring it into the next one. And I really let the light codes bring me the information. The information will just start to come in your meditation. And for me, as I bring in the light, I'll start to feel downloads of information, and I'll also feel negative energy start to leave me. So I kind of have a monkey mind. So for me, it's best to focus on the light and just allow the light to work through each chakra and to shake up that feminine energy. You know, sometimes if I'm really wanting to hone in on the feminine, I just allow myself to be very vulnerable during meditation. I allow myself to cry and just tap in to the divine mother, tap into the energy of the earth. And once I start tapping in really heavily to the energy of the earth, it grounds you, and it just, to me, the earth brings this motherly comfort and this motherly knowing. And it's really powerful. Even when I'm working with clients, we really bring in that Mother Earth energy, and we send light to the mother. And in doing that, when I meditate on actually hooking up to the core, the heart of our mother, that's when the vulnerability really starts to set in, and you just tap into this divine nurturing almost. So for me, it's the light and the earth connection.
Earth is the ultimate divine feminine.
Absolutely. And I always focus on my meditations too by tapping into the heart of our mother and allowing her to receive the light that I'm channeling by free will, so she can, and I do this with my clients as well, so she can take some of that light to heal her children, her waters, the wars, the trees, and just bring that healing in. And for me, it's just about walking softly and nurturing everything in your path.
Laurie, what do you like to do?
Well, I am 36 years now meditating, and to shake up the divine feminine energy, I would agree with Holly. It's always connecting with the earth. I like to see myself deeply rooted, but forever aspiring unto the light. When I focus in on my heart chakra for divine feminine energy, that's the chakra that I focus on. And when it's as full and as large as it can be, I just let it flow out of me to wherever it needs to. I don't have to hold on to that love anymore. I can just sort of let it go. And with that, I feel very divinely feminine. I feel that connecting also to greater energies. See, meditation is extraordinarily powerful. The Mayo Clinic and recently Harvard as well released studies showing that words can change your DNA. Words have power. And they proved that words can change your DNA by creating neural pathways, then creating new habits, and then people change. So their DNA conforms. So it's quite interesting. So I think that the right words that you begin your meditation with, to set your intention with, are pretty important. I think those words should be selected. I focus on words to begin mine. I sometimes do a mantra as well.
Now, within the work that I do, Holly, I got a monkey mind too. We're just alike, aren't we? is to keep it simple. I get a lot of people say to me, I can't meditate. Then I tell people, well, don't meditate. If you're having trouble with it, you're just going to get frustrated. It's not going to happen for you. It's not going to do it. What I like to tell people to do, and as you said, Laurie, you're absolutely right. Words are strong. The vibration of that word hits a certain note, it will do certain things for you. Now, what I do within my work, I call it true quantum healing. Use the words true and false all the time. So if I want to move something out, I will say the word false. So if you want to bring something in, you gotta move something out, basically. If you're just getting started, you gotta clean house before you can bring in the new furniture. Otherwise, it's gonna get dirty. So what I tell people to do, if you do own a set of my rings, you hold a sun ring and you say the words, false masculine grids, false. They will now move away, and then you can say divine feminine, true. So one will move out, another one will come in. That in itself is a meditation. Most people think meditation is, well, I'm going off into astral traveling and I'm leaving my body and beautiful things are going to happen. Meditation is more so just a consciousness where you're setting a focus for something to happen. So if you just sit nice and quiet, hold the rings, hold any sacred geometry, hold a color, hold whatever, a crystal, whatever, and you just make the intent that you want this divine feminine energy to open up, to flower, to be what it is, then that's what's going to happen. So I always tell people, get rid of something bad, bring in something good. Get rid of something bad. All past life trauma is false. All new life joy, true. You're changing polarity within all of the stuff in your body.
Right. I agree with that. And how you said to focus on the color, my monkey mind clients really seem to have a peace of mind when they're able to just use that color. Because there's a lot of people that come or contact me and they're really upset that, like you said, they can't meditate and they think that they're doing something wrong and they're not spiritual or on the right path. And so that color is it's a lifesaver for so many people. And you're right with the words too. I mean, words are so important. If anytime something bad happens to me, I reverse engineer how I created that scenario with my words. And every single time I was like, oh, I did say that. And look what happened. So we've got to change how we're talking, period. We've got to change how we're talking to men and women to honor this divine feminine. Sorry, go ahead, Laurie.
No, people need to say what they mean and mean what they say and understand the words that they use. Words are that powerful. You know, for me, it's easier. With my clients, I am hypnotizing them, so they don't have to worry about not being able to gently ease into that altered state of consciousness. But as far as people who can't meditate, they're just trying too hard. Don't try so hard. Meditation can be up to a couple of minutes. It can be up to a couple of hours. It's just if a thought enters, let it leave. It's okay. No pressure. I think people put just a little bit too much pressure on themselves.
My meditation is sitting in front of my charts with my pendulum and just letting it tell me things. That's my meditation. If I was trying to sit in a quiet room and let my thoughts go away, well, you know, that ain't going to happen because I'm, number one, I'm a guy, and number two, I'm a guy. So it just ain't going to happen. But you shouldn't let that discourage you, because ultimately everybody has a way to find their space. Everybody has to find a way to quiet their mind somewhat.
One of the things that a person can do is just remember that, say, when you're praying, you're talking to God. When you meditate, God is talking to you. And so all you really need to do is just listen. Just listen. Don't just listen to that inner voice, listen to that higher self. It'll listen for it and you'll hear it. Everything else will just sort of melt away. The mind knows what the intention is once it's been set, and just no pressure. Take your time.
Somebody who hasn't experienced that, they don't know what to expect. But all of a sudden, boom, there it is. Whoa, okay, I think we know what to do now. Now, if somebody wanted to attend your retreat in Kona, Hawaii coming up,
we have 3 slots left. So we have 3 slots left to fully accommodate you, and we feed you. Everything's organic, non-GMO. We're staying in this, oh my goodness, this
an estate
phenomenal estate home with a black bottom pool. It overlooks the ocean. We're so excited.
Are there any other retreats coming up after this one?
Yes.
We are doing a retreat in Shasta. We are just looking for the absolute best location.
So that is in the works.
And that retreat will be still, it is in the birthing stage. We're looking at, I think, the end of July, August, end of summer.
Well, you know what? You guys are doing a wonderful job bringing knowledge forward, allowing people to get back in touch with themselves and to realize that there is empowerment available. Really, what it's all about as light workers. Here we are, we have a monumental task ahead of us, and that's to show humanity that, hey, you know what? You don't have to keep your head in the sand. You don't have to watch what's on TV and accept it. You can take your life, you can crumble that paradigm that's keeping you in that third dimension garbage and look outside that box and say, wow, there really is happiness. There really is joy. There really is love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think all of us here have had, well, I don't know about you, Chris, but I know for Laurie and I, we've been through some trauma, and it's beautiful to look back at how things used to be and how they are now. And it's all because we've cleared the trauma. We've stuck to our paths, and we've made the decision to have more enlightening experiences, to be more conscious, to be more connected to spirit, and to live through our heart chakra. And it does make a difference. Huge.
Laurie, we got 1 minute left. Any last words?
Well, I would certainly invite any women out there who are looking to find their voice or tap into their potential or be in touch with their divine feminine side, open up to their spirituality. Check us out at www.divinefeminineretreats.com. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you all. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And I just want to spread that divine feminine energy and love through all the airwaves.
Tonight, our guests have been Laurie McDonald and Holly Cook. Thank you so much. This is Chris for A Quantum View. We are out of here.